I like Candace Owens. I was excited that she covered this. Then I watched it, and I was terribly disappointed and angry. Let's see what she had to say.
Okay, so when, if ever, and of course there are many circumstances when it is appropriate, but when is it appropriate for women to involve the police when they are in a dispute with a man? The reason why that
Excellent question.
question is on my mind is because there was a story yesterday that seems to have divided the men and the women that I have asked the question to. The story is pertaining to a man named Christopher Christensen. He was 51 years old, and he was the principal of William T. Newland Elementary School in Huntington Beach, California. He took his own life at Disneyland, which he basically jumped to his death. But in a final post on Facebook, he said why he committed suicide. And I'm going to read you the post verbatim because I want your opinions on it. And I will prep you by saying I don't have an answer to this one. I just have a lot of thoughts that I'd like to share. And I'd like to get the dialogue going because I think it is an important dialogue to have.
She's not wrong. It's an important dialogue to have. She's going to read his words again. I read them yesterday on my reaction. She clearly feels differently.
This is my wife, Marlena. Yes, you heard me correctly. Most of you don't know this, but we privately married 3.5 years ago. Marlena and I love and adore each other, and our relationship has been amazing up until recently. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, she and I got into a heated argument at home in front of the girls. Tempers were flared and strong words were exchanged between us. However, never in this exchange did I hit, slap, or hurt Marlena in any manner, nor did I ever touch the girls. I never have and never will. I love the girls like my own, and they know that, as does everyone else who truly knows me. Unfortunately, Marlena's anger got the best of her that night, and she called the police, which landed me in jail that night. Yes, me, a man who has never hit or harmed anyone in his life. I think it's safe to say that Marlena truly regrets making that call, because the events of that night have completely unraveled both of our
It's
lives.
amazing how the same letter that he wrote can get completely different reactions. I really had hope that Candace was going to see the truth.
And it's sickening how
It really did.
An innocent man can be thrown in jail based on zero evidence or proof. In fact, take a look at the
She's not even reading it with the same inflection
to my friend about the matter.
or similar inflection as I did yesterday.
Of having that night come this far. She knows I would never hurt her or the girls, and she too has been trying to clear my name with little success. Again, the legal system is deeply flawed to say the least. So here I am writing my final Facebook post to all of you. I need you all to know that a gentle, kind, loving, and sincerely good man has been destroyed by one unfortunate night. It really is unfortunate. This is not me. This is not something that I ever thought.
Unfortunate is one word.
All of this said, I have truly loved educating and leading thousands of students and families as a principal in the FVSD the past 21 plus years. I have made so many wonderful connections with families over the years, and those who
heartbreaking. This is a heartbreaking letter, Candace. Do you understand that?
Please remember me for all the good that I brought to the world.
This part
Education.
just skips over.
Now,
Watch.
The post had a couple of more paragraphs in which he just sort of said thank you to his bandmates. He also did an instrument and went around, and this post was met with an outpouring of love.
That's important.
From the community itself. Apparently, he was a much loved principal, very involved with children. And when I read this post, I was deeply saddened for it. It seemed like an absolute tragedy. So here's what I'm going to say a couple of
Sounds
things.
like it.
I first want to be very clear.
Is
It is not
this
at all the fault of this woman involved who called the police and he committed suicide.
okay? Stop right there. It's not that woman's fault at all that he decided to jump off the parking garage. Not at all. I'm still getting over that. Like, I'm still getting over that. Personally, I say charge her with accessory to manslaughter at the very least. But, go on, Candace.
It is so
Teach us.
ridiculous to ever think that when somebody commits suicide, they should blame somebody else. These are the actions of one person. And I think that it's important to see that over and over again, that as we discuss the situation, I in no way believe that it is Marlena's fault that the situation, that she led him to his death because she called the police.
Oh, yeah.
That would not have happened.
Had nothing to do with it.
Passionate for her because she is now dealing with a tragedy.
Sad and compassionate for her, because there are consequences to what she did. Candace, this is the issue. Women are like, I'm not a feminist. I'm not a feminist. Right there. So sad and compassionate for her. These are consequences. Consequences to her. Even if you think that his decision was completely his and she bears no fault, she's certainly what she's dealing with now is, it's like it just happened to her. It just happened. Fell out of the sky.
Somebody who she has expressed after his death was the love of her life. She had responded to some people that were responding to this post, and she said, who's love of my life? You guys don't understand. And so they obviously had a very loving relationship. And
No, I don't understand. I don't understand. That's the love of your life? That's how you treat the love of your life? You destroy his entire life. Maybe you need to learn what love of your life means, because that's not it. That's not it, Marlena. That's not it, Candace.
I think that happened. Second thing I'm going to say is that I want to take this post at face value. I know our minds tend to go into conspiracy land. Some people were commenting saying, oh, this seems manipulative. It seems like, he is trying to make us think that she's wrong. How could he blame her? Yes, I don't think it's
he didn't
nice
blame her.
As a final post,
he didn't blame her.
My wife's temper got the best of her and she made a mistake and called the police.
And now what he did and what he said isn't nice.
I want to be clear that I want to take this post at face value because I don't necessarily think that he posted this to be manipulative, because when people use suicide to be manipulative, they don't actually commit suicide. He actually
of course not
committed suicide after posting this. He has no history of being suicidal. They have no history of being violent together. From what I can discern from just doing a cursory search of him, obviously, if he had some history of being violent, he would not have been able to serve as a teacher for 21 plus years. I would think that would immediately make you not able to become a principal of a school if they obviously do very severe background checks when it comes to principals. Now, this circumstance is particularly different because the child endangerment charge that he faced simple battery and child endangerment. So I want to clarify for you what those things mean. If you have an argument in front of your children and you call the police and the police arrive, of course, if the police want to charge you with something, they can charge you with child endangerment. That's just the way it is. Simple battery, it varies definition from state to state, but it can be just menacing behavior. So if you're yelling at someone, I did, just for the sake of this episode, look up what the simple battery California Penal Code was. The definition that's coming up is the battery charge definition says that simple battery occurs when a person unlawfully touches another person. The touching that occurred...
That didn't happen. There was no touching or slapping or hitting or whatever. Both parties attest to that.
Person is considered simple battery, does not have to actually cause any harm or injury. So, I have no idea what happened in the circumstance. He could have put his hands on her saying, you need to calm down, whatever it is.
Why am I making this up now?
She called the police.
He must have done something.
He did not beat her, did not beat the children. He's not being charged with that. But again, if you have an argument in front of
now
your
we're
children,
justifying.
it can be considered child endangerment. That's a very...
If you have an argument in front of your children, it can be considered child endangerment. So she's sort of making a case against him, even if he didn't touch the kids, whatever. Well, wasn't she fighting too? Wasn't she yelling too? Where are the charges against her? Where are the child endangerment charges against her? Where are the battery charges against her? If the anger got the better of her, as he says, which I'm sure it did, why is it just him? I know the answer. I know the answer. Man bad, woman innocent, angel victim. And even Candace Owens is propping this up. She's creating scenarios like, oh, he could have grabbed her and said, or she could have grabbed him, or she could, do you know what I mean? Like a lot of things. What we know is that she destroyed his life with an accusation she can't take back because now it's in the hands of the state because of the kids that are involved. Destroyed his career, destroyed everything he'd worked for, destroyed his reputation. Think about his other kids with his former partner. How do you think that's gonna go with, custody or whatever situation he has with his biological kids, because these kids involved were his stepkids. That's not good either. We don't know what that whole situation was with his first, separation, divorce, whatever it was. I'm guessing divorce. I was just, color me naive. I was just like, oh good, Candace is going to cover this. This is going to get national coverage. Yay. But we're still building a case where this guy is manipulative in his letter. He's accusing her in the letter. He's actually guilty of battery because of, yelling or whatever. And we feel so incredibly compassionate for this woman. This is what I'm getting for this. Am I wrong? Am I too on the other side? What the heck? Tell me.
Heavy charge for a man to face ever in life, but when you are a principal, that can spell the end of your career. Obviously, you cannot just have a lingering child endangerment clause,
obviously,
child endangerment case in the background that's going to let you just keep continuing being the principal to minors. And so obviously for him,
that's why you don't call the police.
Way higher suicide rate in society than women, and lots of times that suicide rate is directly contributed to their career. I think it is fair to say that men attach their self-worth to what they're able to provide in society.
Of course they do.
Self-worth, I think, is tied to whether or not they have a job. When a man does not have a job and is unable to provide, they do tend to go through bouts of depression. Again, I am making generalizations. Of course, there are probably a lot of specific things that happen in this case, but it got my mind churning, and I would like for you guys to give me your opinion.
I am.
First, I want to say this.
I am.
Now, the reason why I think his point is something that is worth discussing, when he talks about the legal system being flawed. Again, the legal system is deeply flawed, he says, particularly as it pertains to men.
Yes.
I believe that. And that's not to say that there are not instances in which the legal system is flawed for women. There are many instances.
Why do we have to bring women up again? Don't forget, women are victims. Can't forget that.
I think now we are sort of heading toward a society where, and I think this is sort of the post-Me Too society, I would almost say, if we could mark it, the post-Me Too society, where I don't know if women are accurately, I want to say assessing, I want to be very careful in choosing my words here, what is violence? What is a threat? We now live in a society where not just women, men too, will say silence is violence. Somebody's presence can feel threatening.
Women
do
that.
Feel unsafe. I'm not kidding. I once was in front of
God, we can't say women are guilty of something without saying, oh, men are guilty too. We can't say, like, men are victims of something without immediately saying, oh, women are victims too. It's like, don't forget, women are victims. Let's talk about the issue that men face in our society without having to pepper it with the feminism talking points of women are the victims, women probably had a reason, etc. Just can't even get through it.
Editor at Vogue who said that she felt unsafe because I was with her. I hear this word actually a lot from on college campuses, that kids think that if they say they don't feel safe because Candace is coming to speak, that they feel threatened by me just.
She's making the woman's point that the woman overreacted.
Because they don't feel safe, right? It's not a safe space. We're kind of in a society now of safe spaces, right? And so I don't know what happened in this scenario.
No, you don't.
I don't want to at all condemn something whatsoever. But if we take this as
you did.
value, right?
You condemned him.
That everything he said in this case to be true. Is it appropriate when you and your husband are having a fight for you to call the police?
No.
When is it appropriate when you and your husband are exchanging a verbal fight, a verbal assault on one another? Is it appropriate for you to call the police?
Never.
And I say maybe she or any other person. Again, I don't want to be too specific because I feel terribly compassionate for this woman who is now dealing with the suicide, and her children are dealing with this, and there's a lot going on. But if you are a woman and you are thinking, okay, well, maybe a woman might think that those words are going to transpire into something physical, so she called the police, right? Just to sort of say, okay, he might start hitting me, so it's a good time to call the police. Is there not something else, like if you call the police, it's going to take at least 45 minutes for them to get there. So if he's going to be physically violent, he's still going to have the opportunity to do that. My personal instinct is that if I felt unsafe because a guy was...
That's a lot of words. That's a lot of words to avoid saying what I said in my video yesterday. It's a lot of words to try to show that this woman was the victim, etc., etc. When should you call the police? When you and your husband are having a verbal argument? Never. See how few words that took? And also, you don't ruin the life of the love of your life. You don't do that. Women don't know what love is. Can they love? Have you watched this long to answer that question? Can they love? Please hit subscribe. Let's get this word out. Let's expose these women. Let's expose this legal system, these vile women. It's never okay. None of this is ever okay. And yes, it's her fault. And yes, these are the consequences. And the kids don't deserve it. Call me cold-hearted. Maybe this has made me jaded. But I believe she deserves she deserves more. She deserves charges. She deserves charges filed on her for what she did. At least charges for making a false accusation. But I don't think that even exists. But I'm all for charging her with manslaughter. This has to stop. It has to stop. And until we're honest about it, it's not going to. Highly disappointed in this spin of the events. It's never okay.